what's good, Muria Zimbabwe, Taitande, because Zimbabwe Mushe, Muria Zimbabwe, Lingali, Chonan Janim, Togaza Mushe, Zimbabwe Mushe. Welcome to everybody tuning in right now. You tuned into Live Talk, The Connection, brought to you by Studio 7, Voice of America, Muria Zimbabwe, on Tuesday, May 17, 2022. Togaza Mushe, Zimbabwe Mushe. I'm your host, Mike Hove. Once again, to everybody tuning in right now, welcome, Muria Zimbabwe. You're tuned into Live Talk, The Connection, Studio 7's very own youth program that targets tackling anything and everything youth-related. We're coming to you from my apartment in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, May 17, 2022. Tonight on Live Talk at The Connection, we're going to be focusing on a youth conference that was held over the weekend by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and, of course, the African Union. Now, this conference was titled Youth Conference on Elections, and it was themed Engaging the Youth for Meaningful Participation in Electoral Processes. So we're going to be delving deeper into that later on. That is going to be the focus of our discussion. Now, unfortunately, Muria Zimbabwe, tonight's program is a pre-recorded broadcast. What that means is you, our loyal listeners, will not be able to call in live as per usual. Just the name Muria Zimbabwe, like so, Studio 7. So as we speak, we are broadcasting together on our three Facebook pages, that being VOA Indebele, VOA Studio 7, Danyelagu VOA Shona Muria Zimbabwe. So like, do not forget to press the like button so that we see what's in like so. Now, for our YouTube fanatics, we're also broadcasting on YouTube as we speak, Muria Zimbabwe. Our official page is at VOA Zimbabwe. I repeat, at VOA Zimbabwe. So all our YouTube fanatics, you can catch us there. And for those that like watching our program on our web pages, we're broadcasting live on our three web pages as we speak. That is www.voazimbabwe.com, www.voashona.com, and of course, www.voaindebele.com. So linga khohli izulu kandaba mthokazo omuhle sikhona namhlanje kuhlelo lethu labasakhulayo sisonke ekhasini lethu le-Facebook sikhona ku VOA Shona, VOA Indebele kanye la ku VOA Studio 7 Tirithose Muria Zimbabwe. So do not forget to press the share button so that we watch the program in our numbers. And of course, for everybody that's watching the program as we speak, please feel free to write your comments in the comment section so that we get to see your live interaction. But now, to kick off tonight's program, Muria Zimbabwe, first up, an update of COVID-19. Now, according to the most recent statistics released by Zimbabwe's Ministry of Health and Childcare, Zimbabwe is experiencing a slight increase in COVID-19 infections. To date, the Southern African nation has registered 249,431 COVID cases, 242,537 recoveries, and 5,484 deaths. Now, all these accumulative cases, Muria Zimbabwe, so the numbers again, 249,431 infections, 242,537 recoveries, and 5,484 deaths. Now, last night alone, Muria Zimbabwe recorded 169 new cases, 37 recoveries, and 1 death. Now, when we talk about the amount of people that are vaccinated against the COVID-19 pandemic, 6,131,637 have taken their first jab of the COVID-19 dose, and 4,381,446 are fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 pandemic. So those numbers again, 6,131,637 have taken their first dose, and 4,381,446 are fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are the latest statistics released by Zimbabwe's Ministry of Health and Childcare, Muri Zimbabwe. Let us know your thoughts. Facebook, we're broadcasting on Facebook as we speak. We're also on YouTube and our three web pages. To everybody tuning in right now, Muri Zimbabwe, welcome, welcome, welcome. You tuned into Live Talk, The Connection, Studio 7's very own youth program that targets tackling anything and everything youth related. I'm your host, Mike Hove.
Symptoms, the virus. Kugozora is symptom. Kupisa movie is symptom. Kutata kupema shakanaka, sana chakanaka pa ma symptoms. Kana uchida rubasiro, phone number 2019. Rubasiro runo ya pauri. Asingati shishengete say ama.
Shout out there to Mr. Tidarira Swat. Just Signal, they're partnering up with Roots Africa for that COVID-19 promo. Liezwa Zuluganda Banang, Tidarira Uswa, Just Signal. We are showing Pelo Uti Gezani Zanda Zuluganda, Linga Shangani Ngobuneng Yang Uti, Likiniso, Uti COVID-19 corner Zuluganda Banjalo, Yabulala, Manzwaka, Mashoko, Atidarira Swa. In Darira Just Signal, Achibatana Nisangana Re Roots Africa, Achkuruzira, Evan Anzaiwa, Gezaimoko, Sanganino, one doing COVID-19, Chiriko. So, Muri Zimbabwe are now to delve into tonight's discussion, the youth conference held by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and, of course, the African Union. Now, this was a program that was facilitated over the weekend. The target is to educate the youth of the nation about the role of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission and, of course, the importance of youth participation in elections. Now, to hear more, let us head over to some of the youth who are in attendance of this conference. The next clip that you're about to watch, Muri Zimbabwe, is courtesy of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission's Twitter page. So to watch all the full clips, head over to their Twitter page.
The youth conference on elections has gone very well. We want to appreciate the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission for holding such an event for young people, the first of its kind. It's very important for youth to be involved in the electoral process, whether we look at it from a voter perspective or as candidates, because young people contribute a huge demographic in our country, and we need to be able to ensure that their voices are heard, that they're sitting at the right tables. We just want to emphasize that the Zimbabwe Youth Council, its partnership with ZEC, should take this up and make sure that voter education, particularly for young people, is taken down to the grassroots. We need to make sure that no young person is left behind. Voter participation is important, but sometimes people don't participate because of lack of information. And so we want to have more support, more resources poured in so that ZYC and ZEC and youth associations can take it upon themselves to educate young people and make sure they're part of the electoral process. Thank you.
Yeah, the workshop was very, very important to us because, there were rigging allegations, ZEC being alleged to rig elections and stuff. We realized that is because there was no information in our young people. Today, almost total number that attended agreed that we did not know the processes and the laws. Like what happened in 2018, people demonstrated barely 2 days after elections. They thought ZEC is delayed to announce results. But what does the law say? There are a number of days. So I think it's a matter of information game. Youths are feeding from contaminated sources. There are people who are running misinformation, disinformation, but from today onwards, we expect to see a renewed generation of youths who understands the principles, the processes, and the procedures of ZEC.
My name is Ombera Ishonende. I'm from the Triple C, we are having a symposium here, cross-pollinating on issue regulation, electoral processes. I think there was a serious information gap that needs to then get covered by everyone who was participating. To say what we have learned here must also go and back to the communities. Then the major thing that I have from this conference is around the issue of communications. The communications that we are having must be congruent with the issues that are on the ground in regards to how it's disseminated, the implications, who gets offended, and who doesn't. So my recommendation in that regard is that we need to have a multi-stakeholder platform where we have a communication committee that is all stakeholders involved, then it gets implemented, so that when there's information is cascaded, regards information, we don't have panics that come when it comes to electoral processes, because the important thing about election is the credibility, the fairness, and the freeness that comes in election. It is hinged on the information that has been communicated. So the totality of features and characteristics of that election must be communicated very well from all players within the fray, that is civil society, the political parties, the electoral management bodies, as well as anyone who's concerned is the citizens. Must not just propagate information that is detrimental to the credibility of the institution of individuals in the election, because that is an area of disputation since time immemorial.
Well, Maria Zimbabwe, you heard there from Chiedza Juru, who is the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Youth Council. You also heard there from Alex Gakanje, who is a ZANU-PF youth member, and Mr. Womberaishe Nende, who is a member of the Citizens Coalition for Change. All of them were in attendance of the ZEC conference. But before we delve deeper into tonight's program, Maria Zimbabwe, and kind of break down what came out of the ZEC conference, I recently reached out to a human rights activist, Mr. Ashley Pfunye, to hear more about the challenges faced by youths when we're talking about elections in Zimbabwe. So let us head over to that conversation that I had with Mr. Ashley Pfunye, and then when we come back, we delve deeper into the ZEC conference.
Thank you very much, my brother. This is a very critical issue in our country, and you know it's a democratic right. You know, wars have been waged, demonstrations have been done, all in the name of claiming that right to vote. Voter registration is very important because number one, if people are not registered, it gives leverage to those who are in power to start to rig, because they know that the numbers that they will be using, they will actually rig. So that's why it's very important for every citizen to practice that right to vote, to register actually, so that they can be able to vote, so that we can counter the rigging mechanism that has been, you know, a cancer of Africa. So we need to make sure that we cover all those gaps and make sure that everyone who has potential to register and vote must do so. And also it's important because this is where citizens start to speak their voice. This is where citizens start to express themselves, because it's a process that leads to the selection or election of leaders. Leaders who are going to determine the policy, who are going to determine how this country is being driven, who are going to determine how the relationship of this country and other countries is. You know, as young people, there is a question of hope. A lot of young people have lost hope in the political processes. And it's about how these have been executed and implemented. And so on that note, you find that young people, they are failing to directly participate in political process due to lack of confidence and loss of hope. One of the ways that we can rectify that, I think, as I mentioned, that people haven't been given enough education about political education about the political processes. And so that will be our starting point to say, no, we should make sure that we educate these people. It's not like they're illiterate. They are literate, but they are not understanding the importance and the impact of that. So we need to make sure that we have a political program that will educate and make them conscious about those things. And then number two, it's also upon the civil society, the political parties, to make sure that we start to have political processes. We start to engage at that level. You know, it starts from the community. It starts at a ward level. So if they start to see progress at ward level or at district level, so we need to make sure that it starts with the transparency and accountability of leaders whilst when we see that, for instance, if we are in a resident of Country Park and you have voted for a leader, and then they start to make effective change, that will give confidence to a young person to say, no, but my vote has counted, my vote has led to a change, because this person has implemented things. Every generation has got its own leaders, and it is the duty of every generation to identify their leaders and make sure that we fulfill a generational mandate that we have. And as young people, which I'm also a young person, it is very important for us to register to vote. We are not doing this for ourselves. We're not doing it for others. We're doing it for those that are going to come after us. This shall be our legacy, a legacy of overturning a political process, overturning and implementing a political culture that is very conducive with active citizens who question and who implement what is important in their community. So let's get out in our numbers and go and register to vote and make a difference. Every vote counts.
That there, Mori Zimbabwe, was Ashley Funye, who is a human rights activist, speaking on the challenges faced by Zimbabwean youth when we're talking about the electoral process and partaking in elections. Now, to hear more about what ZEC is attempting to address. Now, those are problems that were mentioned by Mr. Ashley Funye, are the problems that ZEC is attempting to address. We also want to talk about the proceedings of the weekend conference. I reached out to the director of 4H Zimbabwe, Mr. John Muchenje. He's a friend of the show. We've had him here a couple of times. Mr. Muchenje was one of the moderators and participants of this conference that happened over the weekend. So let us head over to that conversation that I had via Skype with Mr. John Muchenje to hear more about the conference and, of course, how ZEC is looking to help the youth of the nation.
I think the effort that is being done by the government and also civil society and also youth themselves in terms of participating in the electoral processes, I think it's yielding some results. There's quite a number of organizations, quite a number of youth themselves, they are eager and they are participating in terms of voter registration, voter education. So I think there is a zeal which is within the youth in terms of engaging and participating actively in a meaningful electoral process in Zimbabwe.
Now, I want to talk about a conference that was held over the weekend by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission and, of course, in partnership with the Ministry of Youth. Here they were talking about how more young people can be involved in Zimbabwe's electoral process. You were part of the conference. I see you're wearing the hat. Tell us more about this conference. What exactly was happening there?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the conference was it was very interactive. I think we learned a lot in terms of the role of ZEC in the electoral processes and also the electoral process itself, starting from registration, voting processes, counting, the V11s and everything. So they took us through the whole process in terms of starting out to make you a registered voter, the voting processes, how it is conducted in terms of reading announcing the elections, and the workshop that we had, the 3-day symposium. As young people, really appreciate the effort which is being done by ZEC, by the Ministry of Youth, and by AU, by Switzerland Embassy, that was the funding partner. We are very glad in terms of the effort which is being done by all partners in terms of encouraging and promoting youth participation in a meaningful and active electoral processes.
Throughout the years, we've been talking about youth quotas, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that this could lead to more young people involved in terms of actual leadership, in terms of young people in parliament, young people in government? Do you think that this could lead to that?
Yes. If you're following, I hope the conference was live. People were talking about political dinner table, the young people, where they were saying it's either you are eating on the dinner table or you are being eaten. So young people, they are saying we do not want to be the menu on the dinner table, on the political dinner table, but we want to be people that are eating, which means they want to participate in the electoral processes, not just as voters, like I said, but as contestants. So you're going to see quite a number of young people throwing CVs from different political parties. I'm happy that we are also at 4H Zimbabwe working with quite a number of political parties where we are actually pushing and advocating for young people to take political positions, from the local authority to the National Assembly, even to the Senate. We're saying there's no age limit in the Senate. Why young people are not getting into the Senate and take over the positions? So we're going to see a paradigm shift in terms of young people being involved and interested in taking leadership positions in various parties.
Mm-hmm. Now, over the weekend, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, alongside the Ministry of Youth and other non-governmental organizations and regional bodies such as the AU, they had a conference that was focusing on, I guess, youth participation in the electoral process, especially as Zimbabwe is gearing towards 2023. I know you are part of that conference. You're wearing a cap as proof of it. Tell us more about the proceedings of that conference that happened over the weekend.
Okay, thank you very much, Nkwamai. The conference was an eye-opener to me. Quite a number of young people, even if you check on ZEC website and in the newspaper and then also ZBC News, quite a number of people, young people, were very excited, especially knowing and going through the processes from initial stage, which is voter registration, to the actual voting processes, to the announcing of results, and also everything. So now that the youth have an appreciation in terms of the role of ZEC and also how we can participate in the electoral processes, I think we learned quite a number of things, and all people that were there present, young people, I think 80% of the participants there, they were young people from various organizations, various parties. They were very happy. These are eye-opener conferences where young people really appreciate and understand the processes that are being done whenever there's an election. So young people sometimes they don't participate, not because they don't want, but because they don't understand the processes. But now that we understand and we know the processes, I'm sure a lot of young people are going to be involved in the electoral processes.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing I'm really happy about with the work that you guys are doing as 4H Zimbabwe, and of course this conference, was to see young people across the board, all political parties in attendance of this. And the question I'm alluding to here is, for a very long time, if we look at the 2018 elections and previous elections, a lot of young people, especially those who are part of the opposition, really have lost confidence in the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission because they feel as though the body itself is not independent. With them in attendance and with all different institutions in attendance, do you think that this helps regain confidence in the works of the electoral body?
Yes, you know, sometimes when you don't have information or you don't get enough audience with the people from ZEC, we tend sometimes to accuse that they've delayed in terms of announcing the results. They're supposed to announce within 3 days, yet the constitution says 5 days. So the engagements that we have done so far with ZEC, I'm happy that whenever you are calling ZEC to any interface young people, they quickly respond that wherever young people are gathered and they're talking about electoral processes, please invite us. We need to engage more and shed more light about our work with the young people. So the continuous engagement with the electoral body, with the young people, slowly they're getting confident in understanding how the ZEC operates. But sometimes young people, they say ZEC, they don't want to register they don't want to register voters. Yet without an ID, without proper documentation, they won't be able to register you. So now we now know that if I want to get registered, I need an ID, I need the proof of residence. If I don't have a proof of residence, I need an affidavit from the Commissioner of Votes. So all those things that we discussed with the ZEC, young people now have an understanding in terms of the role of ZEC and its mandate, which means we are going to see less of accusations of people that are saying ZEC is not credible. You are going to see less of that, because you are now having an understanding and appreciation of the role of ZEC in terms of running and managing elections in the country.
For those who don't really have an understanding, could you kindly just give them a brief explanation as to what exactly the role of the Zimbabwe electoral body is when we're talking about the generality, especially as we head towards 2023? What exactly is ZEC's role towards conducting the elections?
That's fine, thank you. I'm going to speak just a bit, since there's Commissioner Jasper Mangwana, who the spokesperson of ZEC. But in terms of my general understanding as young people, that maybe the role of ZEC usually it's around the registration of voters and also conducting the election according to the Constitution of Zimbabwe or according to the Electoral Act that we have in the country. So, for example, I think there are quite a number of people that were asking about the availing of the voters' roll to ZEC. I was shocked to hear that ZEC was saying all the political parties, we gave them the voters' roll. If your leader is saying they haven't received any voters' roll, just go and ask them, didn't you get it from ZEC? So in terms of the overall duties of ZEC, just make sure that everyone is registered. But as long as you don't have the necessary legal documents, they can't register you. You need your ID, you need your proof of residence. If you don't have proof of residence, just go to any commission of courts. You just put your documents there and certify that me, Johnny Mchenje, I stay at this address, and then they'll register you. And then they also say your slip, it's your private property. No one is allowed to ask it from you. So I think those are the things that they've actually learned today as young people. And I think if we are continually engaging them, we are going to learn more about the role of ZEC in terms of conducting elections in Zimbabwe.
Now, I want to talk about the conference that your organization had last week, that is 4H Zimbabwe, the foundation itself. I know that you recently had a conference whereby youth across the whole political board, MDCT was in attendance, CCC was in attendance, and PF was in attendance, whereby they were talking about something similar, which is, I guess, youth participation and the challenges faced by youth when we're talking about the elections or partaking in the electoral process. What conducive things came out of that meeting?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it was one of the first conferences ever happened in Zimbabwe since 2013 when there was GNU. I think quite a number of young people, they were very happy with the conference and also the effort that we have done as an organization in trying to come together, these young people, and create a conducive environment towards a peaceful election in Zimbabwe and beyond. So quite a number of people come out from that. The first one was around issue to do with the voter registration. I'm happy that the ZEC spokesperson, Commissioner Jesper Mangwana, was there responding to the issues that were raised by young people in terms of the openness and fairness and creation of a fair ground where young people, they also actively participate in the electoral processes. So quite a number of issues were raised by young people. That includes issues to do with ID. So as an organization, we are planning to have another national conference where we are going to bring in people from Home Affairs, because we really need the Home Affairs people to speak for themselves around issues to do with the IDs, and also the police to talk about because most of young people, they were accusing the police, saying they are the perpetrators of violence. So we really needed someone from the police to come up and also speak on behalf of themselves to just respond to the issue that were raised by young people. But as an organization trying to also create a tolerance and peaceful environment, we are also organizing one of the joint multi-party soccer tournament on the 21st of May here in Harare, where each party is going to bring in its own teams. And then we've actually asked the police to be the referees during that match, just as a message that will be sent to the police that as a police of Zimbabwe, it's not a police of a political party, but it's a police of every Zimbabwean, and they should be in a political field, be the referees, whatsoever that will happen in the ground. The red card is for every team, not for one team. So that's the message that we also want to convey, and the police, I'm happy that we are getting a cooperation from them in terms of conducting the event.
Mm-hmm. Now, how helpful do you think it is to put young people from across all political fields within one room so that they could all talk about the elections? Because throughout this whole time, like you mentioned, this hasn't been happening. Young people have been really polarized, but you had them all in one room. What was the impact of that?
I think at first there was some, whenever people are meeting for the first time, there were some few squabbles here and there, but later we managed to calm them down, and then they really understand. And we are happy with the level of tolerance that these guys have shown, and they've shown interest in working together. So I think as an organization, also as a nation, we are moving on a positive note, where the young people, they've actually said, let's put the Zimbabwe identity first before we talk of the politics, because at the end of the day, we are all Zimbabweans. I might be a ZANU-PF, someone might be a CCC, or I might be a NCA, or I might be a FIS or a LEAD. But at the end of the day, we are all Zimbabweans. So that's the first thing that we need to put across, that less of tolerance now, that the young people, they're actually interested in doing more activities together, just to show to the external world, to everyone, that we are one Zimbabwe, one nation, we really understand each other, we want to work together.
Now, experts that did comment on the program, because we reached out to experts to hear their take on the program that you hosted, a lot of them commended one thing, which is that putting all these young people together and all of them coming out with a unified voice against violence is something that helps. What kind of impact do you think that would have when we're looking at the 2023 elections, especially considering the fact that young people are usually used as the perpetrators of violence?
Yeah, that's fine. I think from the previous election that we have witnessed in Zimbabwe, we have seen that young people are used as a tools to push and cause violence in our country. That's the reason why we are targeting these young people, to have the spirit of tolerance and oneness and unity of purpose amongst them. So according to the analysis that we are working and also the other program that we are doing, we are going to see a positive change, which is an impact in terms of the general attitude and the code of conduct or the behavior of young people towards the election. We are going to witness a peaceful election in 2023.
Okay, Vamchenje, we hear you loud and clearly there, but unfortunately, I see with the video there that your network's a little slow. So what we're going to do is let me disconnect you on Skype, and then we're going to bring you back via telephone. Zulugandaba, Bushelo Sikota Lomnumzana, John Muchenje, there, that is the director of the 4H Zimbabwe Foundation, Mr. John Muchenje. He was in attendance of the youth conference that was facilitated by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission in partnership with the Ministry of Youth, Arts and Recreation, and of course other organizations such as the African Union. We have Mr. Muchenje, who was in attendance there, talking to us more about what this program was all about. But now, Zulugandaba, whilst we attempt to get Mr. Muchenje back on the line, in the meantime, let us head over to some of the youth that were in attendance of this ZEC meeting to hear their thoughts on the importance of such a program.
Hi, my name is Nasha. I'm from APA, Alliance of the People's Agenda, and we were here at the ZEC workshop that took place over 3 days, and our minds were open to the Electoral Commission's work. They rolled in political parties and in making sure that the election run smoothly. We of course came with our own preconceptions, but they corrected them for us, and we're now all the more educated on how the Electoral Commission works. So I'd like to say thank you to ZEC for giving us that insight, for allowing us to grill them, interrogate them, and they answered accordingly, and I'm leaving quite satisfied.
My name is Bruce Nyon. I'm the Executive Director for Albino Trust of Zimbabwe. It has been a great pleasure and an honor for me to be part of the participants, we're still to be part of the facilitators of this program. This is a clear indication that ZEC is committed to work with young people, because the young people were key drivers of this workshop, and it was inclusive for those with disabilities and those without disabilities, those from the political parties across the political divide, and those from the civic society. So as young people from the different walks of life, we were given or accorded an opportunity by ZEC to actually share our minds as to how we can best shape our democracy to improve our electoral systems. The main agenda being to improve meaningful engagement and active participation by young people in democratic processes with specificity to elections. So having said that, our takeaway from home is that this issue is not a ZEC issue, is not a political issue that should be dealt by political parties only, but it's an issue that needs to be taken through a multi-stakeholder approach, whereby all stakeholders from different parts, the church, the civic society, religious and community leaders, as well as political actors, should take part in, because we all at the same time live in Zimbabwe. So we have learned that there are a number of barriers that we are impending youth from participating. Some of this includes misinformation, limited access to information in disability-friendly and accessible formats. I will mention Braille Sign Language, local and other languages that you may mention. So from that, ZEC have walked the talk, not only by promising that they are going to improve, but they have even gone a step further to ensure that they avail information in disability-friendly and accessible formats. For instance, a lot of people have been given information in Braille to also go and give their constituencies back home so that they can get access to reliable, timely, and useful information with regards to elections. I think young people have been urged to ensure that they listen to what the Constitution says, not what they think it should read or rumors from political parties.
Well, Maria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Unyasha Osakulayo Owebandla Ele Alliance for People's Party. That was Nyasha from the Alliance for People's Party, led by Dr. Nkosana Moyo, former government employee, of course, former minister. He is now the president of the Alliance for People's Party, competed in the past elections. Youth there of his political party, Unyasha, was part of the ZEC meeting. You also heard there from Bruce Nyoni, who is of the Albino Trust of Zimbabwe, the executive director. So both of them there were in attendance of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, a meeting held by ZEC over the weekend. Earlier on, you also heard from other young people, so we thought let's bring up more voices that were in attendance to hear their thoughts on the importance of such a program. Yebo kambe izilukandaba wonke umuntu ongena kuhlelo siyakwamukela kuhlelo lethu labasakhulayo uhlelo Live Talk the connection alilami uMike Hove namhlanje ukuhlelo sixoxa ngomhlangano osanda uqoqwa inhlanganiso yeZimbabwe Electoral Commission inhlanganiso ebona ngezokhetho kwele Zimbabwe besebenza ndawonye ngogatsha olubona ngezokuthuthukiswa kwabasakhulayo iMinistry of Youth Arts and Recreation besebenza ndawonye lezinye inhlanganiso ezigoqela iAfrican Union bekhangela phela uhlelo olusanda ukuphela oluphele ngempela viki esanda ukudlula obelujonge ukufundiswa abasakhulayo elizweni okunengi ngokuqhutshwa kokhetho kwele Zimbabwe kakhulukazi njengoba sibona ukuthi ele Zimbabwe seliqalisile ukulungiselela ukhetho oluzayo ukhetho luka 2023 siyezwa ontanga bekhuluma umbono wabo ngokuqhakatheka kwalomhlangano abasakhulayo abagoqela umnumzana uJohn Mchenje esilayo kuhlelo bayashayela ihlombe inhlanganiso yeZimbabwe Electoral Commission besithi hayi bona ngombono wabo umhlangano lo uqhakathekile kakhulu. One, because abantu abasakhulayo yibo abaningi elizweni. Two, babona ngani umhlangano lo uzayenza ukuthi abasakhulayo bazwisise ukuthi kahle kahle ukhetho luqhutshwa njani kwele Zimbabwe. Babone njalo ukuqhakathekile ukuthi hayi umhlangano lo ngumhlangano wokuqala njengalokho kushiwo ngumnumzana uBruce Nyoni kanye lo John Mchenje since 2013 lapho kwakule GNU Government of National Unity bebona abantu abasakhulayo abavela emabandleni achiyeneyo bendawonye bedlelana besebenza ndawonye ukubona ukuthi hayi eleZimbabwe la kuqhubekela phambili uyasho ngempela umnumzana uJohn Mchenje kanye lo Bruce Nyoni bayasho ukuthi hayi umhlangano lo uzasiza kukhetho oluzayo ukubona ukuthi udlakela ngeke abantu abasakhulayo bahlangene nodlakela kukhetho luka 2023. Alina lokubona njani izilukandaba bhalani phela imbono yenu mayelana ngokuqhakatheka kwalomhlangano olusanda uqoqwa inhlanganiso yeZimbabwe Electoral Commission. Libona ngani iZEC kumele iqhubekele phambili izama ukuthi ukufundisa abantu abasakhulayo na mayelana ngomsebenzi wabo mayelana beveza sobala ukuthi ukhetho kwele Zimbabwe luqhutshwa njani. Bhalani imibono yenu sikhona zolukandaba ku Facebook ku-VOA Ndebele, VOA Studio 7 kanye la ku-VOA Shona. Silokhu sikudaba lunye zilukandaba sile ngxoxo esiyenze lo mnumzana uBruce Nyoni owenhlanganiso ye-Albino Trust Zimbabwe ngomunye wabasakhulayo abaphatheke kulo umhlangano osanda ukuqhutshwa ngempela viki esanda ukudlula singakaqhubekele phambili ngalolu hlelo lwabasakhulayo asizweni ingxoxo engiyenze lo mnumzana uBruce Nyoni yena ochasise kabanzi ngalomhlangano.
Ya ngiyabonga kakhulu ngokunika leli thuba. Oqala kumele ngithathe leli thuba ukuthi ngibonge iZEC kanye le Ministry of Youth ababe ngama organizers alomhlangano. Oqala ngibona ingane kubalulekile ukuthi ngitshele abanye abantu abatsha abasakhulayo baba bengekho kulomhlangano ukuthi umhlangano lo uhambe kahle njalo sifunde into eziningi njengabantu abatsha. It was a good moment esabalayo. I think it is important also ukuthi ngitshela abalaleli emakhaya ukuthi lo mhlangano ngumhlangano wokuqala onjengalo ukwenzakala lapha eZimbabwe since 1980 ukuthi abantu abatsha abavela kuma political parties achiyeneyo bahlangane bakhulume babonisane ukuthi bengabambana njani bengasebenza kanjani ukuthi baphatheke kundaba lezi ezama elections ngokuthula kungela violence. Ngibona ingani lokhu kuhambe kahle yikho sikubonga kakhulu.
Mnumzana Nyoni siyabonga kakhulu ngokuthatha lethuba ukungena kuhlelo lethu labasakhulayo. Silokhu sihlaziya udaba lokuqhatheka kwalomhlangano osanda uqoqwa yinhlanganiso yeZEC. Bengicela ukuthi uchasisela abaningi kakhulukazi wonke umlaleli okhona kuhlelo lethu labasakhulayo ukuthi umhlangano lo usize njani abantu abasakhulayo ukuthi lizwisise indaba ezimayelana ngokuqhutshwa kokhetho. Ikakhulukazi sifuna ukuthi ukhetho luka 2023 selusondela kuduzane.
Yasifunde into eziningi sibili kulomhlangano ukuthi ikuyini okumele sikwenze njengabantu abatsha ukuthi lathi sibe sithola ithuba lokuthi sivote njalo sivotelwe njengama candidates ukuthi sithola ithuba lathi lokungena eParliament kumbe ukuma ema-council njengama councillors. I think that was a very important meeting ngoba ibambe into nje ezinjengalezo. Okunye okubanjwe lomhlangano lo engathi bekubalulekile njalo iyinto yokuthi abantu sibekwazi ukuthi umthetho wekhetho uhamba njani, ikuyini okwenzakalayo, at what stage, ngubani kumele akuyenze ukwenzela ukuthi nxa sibona ukhetho lusenzakala siyabe senelisa ukuthi si-observe kahle ukuthi sibone ukuthi ama-gaps angikhona ngawaphi, ama-challenges angikhona ngawaphi ngoba siyabe sesilolwazi ukuthi sibone ukuthi kulobuchili yini obenzakalayo kumbe akula. So this was a very important meeting because iyasincedisa ukuthi sizwisise ukuthi idemocracy yangikhona lapha eZimbabwe ihamba kanjani.
Ngombono wakho bekuqhathekile okungakanani ukubona ukuthi abantu abasakhulayo abavela amabandleni achiyeneyo ama-political parties achiyeneyo ukuthi baphatheke kulo mhlangano?
Yeah, I can simply say okuphumela lapha emhlangano lo kukhanyile ukuthi hayi akula kulingana kumbe engathi mina ngesikhiwa level playing field in political parties okwenza ukuthi abantu abatsha labo bathathi ithuba lokuba ngama candidates. So ukuthi sihlangane njengabantu abatsha ukuthi sibonisane ukuthi hayi lapha kumele senze nje ukwenzela ukuthi sikwanise ukushare ama problems sibe lama solutions njalo nge-way forward ukuthi elakusasa lethu njengabantu abatsha liyabe lime kanjani so that sibe le what they call in English inclusive political system. Bekukahle njalo ukuthi sihlangane njengabantu abatsha abavela kuma political parties achiyeneyo ngoba beyi platform yokuthi isitshengise thina ukuthi ukuba lama political parties achiyeneyo asikuthi sehlukene njengabantu beZimbabwe kumbe siyizitha kodwa ukuthi kuphela we subscribe to different ideologies njalo kumele sibambane. I think leyo beyi good step sibili nxa sikhangela ukuthi sakhe isizwe sakithi. So hayi ngibona ingani lolu hlelo beluyihlelo oluhle kakhulu.
Hayi Nyoni siyakuzwa ba4 isikhathi sesefike nguMangoyibe ngicela ukuthi uphosela amazwi akho okugcina.
Ekugcine mina ngathi kuhle ukuthi abantu beZimbabwe babekwazi ukuthi hayi singumuntu omunye, ukuthula ngothando kumele kusilide ema-elections esiwakhangeleyo ngo-2023 ukwenzela ukuthi singabe nge-violence, ngoba i-violence ayisoze yasinceda. Asifuni ukuthi silahlekelwe ngempilo, sifuna ukuthi njengabantu abatsha sikhokhele ekwakheni isizwe sakithi njalo ukwenza ukuthi sibe lokuthula kuleli lizwe. Ngiyabonga.
Hayi ke silukandaba lisanda ukuzwa ingxoxo engenze lo mnumzana uBruce Nyoni owenhlanganiso yeZimbabwe Albino Trust, ngomunye wabasakhulayo ophatheke kulomhlangano oqoqwe inhlanganiso yeZimbabwe Electoral Commission, abanye bathi yiZEC. Well, Muria Zimbabwe, you're hearing there from Mr. Bruce Nyoni there. He was echoing similar sentiments to those that he echoed in the video that we played earlier on, where he was speaking in English, but this time, obviously, he was speaking in Ngolumi Lokamama ngesindebele. He was also sharing the same sentiments as those echoed by Mr. John Mchenje, applauding the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission and, of course, the Ministry of Youth and other partnering organizations such as the African Union for this program that they're running specifically targeted towards the youth, whereby they're looking to educate to ensure that all Zimbabwean youth are well informed on the role of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission when it comes to facilitating the elections, especially now that Zimbabwe is gearing up for the 2023 general elections. But now, Muria Zimbabwe, let us head back to my conversation with Mr. John Mchenje. We now have him on the line there. Vamchenje tinofara kuona kuti madzoka pano pachirongwa chedu network yanga yambonetsa asi sezvo tava nemi parunhare ndandichikumbira kuti tiendere mberi nehurukuro yedu tichizeya this time nerurimi rwamai Shona tichitanga muchitsanangurirawo vateereri zvizere nezvechirongwa ichi chakaitika neweekend chakaunganidzwa kana kuti chakapakurwa nesangano reZimbabwe Electoral Commission vachidyidzana nehurumende kana kuti bazi rinoona nezvekusimudzirwa kwevechidiki yatinoti nechirungu Ministry of Youth.
Okay, maidabasa mukoma Mike Hove. Over the weekend kubva musi Friday, Saturday na Sunday kwanga kune National Youth Conference on Youth Participation in the Electoral Process in Zimbabwe. Rinova chirongwa changa chaunzwa neZEC, Zimbabwe Election Commission, Ministry of Youth, African Union, and also ma-organizations anoita anomirira vechidiki munyaya dzekuvhota nezvevoter education. So chirongwa ichi changa chakanangana nekuencourage ma-youth kuti participate meaningfully and actively in the electoral process in Zimbabwe. So no one's zvataona zvakanaka sevanotungamirira maorganization iki vechidiki vanga vari pemaparts akasiyana siyana nemaorganization akasiyana kuti zvinova zvinhu zvinoita kuti vechidiki vasangane nevanhu veZEC. Tatine bvunzo yakawanda, pane mumwe wabvunzwa zvekare vechidiki vachiti pane patinoona kuti ZEC inenge yaregesa vanhu kana 20 or 40 vachishandisa same address. ZEC zvekare yajekesa ipapo kuti harisi basa ravo rekuvherifya maadresi avanhu kuti ningi John anogara panamba 19 Samora Machel and 4th, oro kuti pana Samora panombori neimba here. Kana munhu achinge aenda kwaanenge aenda akanopuwa ma2 presidents ake, harisi basa reZEC rekuzofamba vachibvunza ndipo panogara munhu here. Vanga vachiti havaiti zvecensus, vomba vachibvunza maadresi avo kana kuti havasi mapurisa vanotsvaka munhu anogara apa here. So vanga vachitaura vachijekesa basa ravo maringe nezvokurisa kuvhota. Kana munhu akauya neID yake, munhu akauya neproof of residence, ingava affidavit, kwavari zvakatokwana zvakadaro. Vanongotora chitupa chemunhu vomuisa musystem yekurisa kuvhota. But chavanga vachiti havaiti kuisa vanhu vane zvitupa zvakawanda panzvimbo yakawanda. Vanga vati vandione vanhu vakawanda vari kuzobva kutoclear, vanga vakashai vachibvisa muvoters roll yavo. So sechidiki dzinotadzisa zvinhu zvakawanda kubva kuziva kuti bandiko reZEC rinomboita zvakamira sei maringe nevoter process in Zimbabwe.
Kazhinji tinoona vechidiki kunyanya vanotsigira bato rinopikisa vachiti ZEC inenge ichikanganisa kunyanya panguva dzesarudzo. nemaondero enyu tichionawo kuti ZEC yava nezvirongwa apo vari kuincluda vechidiki kuti vanyatsoonawo kuti ZEC inoshanda sei, mungati zvichabatsira here vechidiki kunyanya ivo vanenge vatingati nechirungu vane matrust issues vasingatsigiri mabasa anoitwa neZEC?
Okay, notina James. Chekutanga ndinofara kuti ma-youth organization and also ma-youth assemblies emapato akasiyana muZimbabwe anosanganisira veZANU-PF, vanova vari kutonga veCPC, veMDCT, veNCA nanaLeague vanga varipo vachinzwisisa mafambiro nemaitiro anoita basa vanhu veZEC. Ende chivimbo changu chekuti vechidiki vanga varipo vachanokwanisa kunoudzawo vamwe vavo zvavadzidza nhasi maringe nekushanda kunoita ZEC. Zvino zvinozochinja mafungire avo oro mindset yavo oro maonere avanenge vachiita bandiko reZEC rakanangana nemashandiro avanenge vachiita. Nekuti dzimwe nguri tinogona kufunga kuti ZEC yanonoka kuburitsa results yatora 4 days kuti iburitse, tofunga kuti yakafanira kuburitsa within a day, yeti mutemo unovati vanofanira kuburitsa after 5 days. So kusangana kwatichiita neZEC vachitionesa uye vachiuya kwatiri sevechidiki tinodzidza zvinhu zvakawanda uye zvinotivhurawo njere dzedu nekuziva kuti dhande tichiona kuti inomboshanda sei ZEC yacho chichandasira kubva kwairi, mutemo unomboti chii maringe nebasa reZEC. Nokuti dzimwe nguri tinovapa mhosva yekuti varamba kundirisa kuvhota asi ndisina chitupa, varamba kundirisa kuvhota asi ndisina proof of residence. So tiri kuti I think paungano yataita mayouth tadzidza zvinhu zvakawanda kuti patinenge tichiinda patichitaita matinoti voter education uri kukwedzera mumaitiro ekuvhota tange tichivaudza kuti iva unenge une chitupa chako, iva unenge une proof of residence. Kana usina imba yaunogara inda kuna kansela wako uri kuna commission of votes anokudhindira affidavit uye ende unoisa kuvhota. Vati kuvhota ikodzero yako, vote it's your right.
As we wrap up our conversation here, Mr. Muchenje, unfortunately our time is up. What last words would you have for youth as Zimbabwe prepares for the 2023 elections?
Thank you very much, Michael. My first advice to the young people in the country, throughout all political parties in Zimbabwe, the ruling party, the opposition, is we are all Zimbabweans. No one is superior in our country. Let's maintain peace and tolerance. Before we joined our respective parties, we are all Zimbabweans. Let's tolerate each other with respect. We are all humans. One day we also die. No one lives forever and forever and forever. So let's learn to tolerate each other. We are all Zimbabweans. We are one nation. And then secondly, also to encourage young people to go and register to vote. Vote is your right, and the vote is a secret. No one is better entitled to vote than the other. As long as we have reached the legal age, which is 18, go and register to vote. And also as young people, let's not just participate in election through just voting. Let's also get into these public offices. Let's also be voted for. Let's be it's also our, as long as you are advised of age, according to our Constitution of Zimbabwe, we are allowed to stand up as an MP. So as young people, let's support each other. We have the majority in terms of the population. We can also support each other through taking up leadership position from all our parties that I mentioned before. Let's support the youth. Let's participate in the electoral processes in a peaceful manner. I thank you.
You mentioned that as 4H Zimbabwe, you guys are going to be having more programs towards educating young people about the electoral process, especially young people across all political parties. Could you just re-emphasize on that and tell people where they can find more information on 4H Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much, Mike. As an organization, we are working with youth from political parties, across all political parties, trying to promote peace and tolerance. And we also want to come up with a code of conduct that will be guiding document principles that guides youth participation in the electoral process, the document that we call Zimbabwe Youth Charter on the electoral processes. So we are saying as 4H, let's tolerate each other. We are going to do a lot of activities, like for example, on the 21st of May, we are going to have a combined joint sporting activities in Harare, where different young youth assemblies from different political parties are going to conduct elections in a peaceful way. No one is going to emerge as a winner there, but the message that we want to send is about preaching peace and tolerance. Let's tolerate each other regardless of different political parties. And then from there, we are going to move throughout all the provinces, doing peace conferences with youth in all the 10 provinces. So we'll be reaching all the 10 provinces in the country and trying to preach the word of tolerance and peace. And then we will be doing these programs jointly together with all the political parties. Thank you very much, Mkomawe.
Well, Zulugandaba, you heard there from Umnumzana John Muchenje. He is the director of 4H Zimbabwe Foundation. You also heard there from Umnumzana Bruce Nyoni Monyoba Sakulayo, who was in attendance of the ZEC conference over the weekend. But now, as mentioned in my conversation with Mr. Muchenje, 4H Zimbabwe Foundation also had their own youth conference last week ahead of the ZEC conference, whereby they spoke to youth from ZANU-PF, lead the CCC and other political parties who all met to talk about the 2023 elections and what youth can do to ensure a free, fair and peaceful election in the 2023 general elections. So let's head over to some of those youth who were speaking at the 4H Zimbabwe Foundation conference last week.
Peace building. We must also look at it. It's very unfortunate. A panelist who only last week was mobilizing thugs to go and invade a private property, to go and steal goods in real. Who is the biggest perpetrator of violence in this country? The biggest perpetrator of violence in this country is Emerson Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF. We have seen what happened on 1 August 2018 in the street of Harare, where innocent civilians were shot dead. We have seen what happened all over the weekend in Zereza, Chitungisa, where people see the agent was brutally assaulted by ZANU-PF thugs. For peace to sustain in this country, we have to be open, we have to tell the truth. There can't be peace in this country when a cabinet minister go and steal more than 50 million, which is meant for citizens, using them so that they can benefit when they are attacked by COVID. But that minister,
would like to continue with the program that we conducted today was a very progressive program. MDCT, we are very happy because I think Sema Youth takwanisa kuwana space yekuti across the political divide tinenge tichisangana tichitaura. I think zvinotireusa kutoti patinosvika kuma election we have a common understanding yekutoti izvi zvekuti ma-leaders vanotiisa pamberi pema-demonstration tichikanda matombo hatichadi, takuda ma-positions ekuti tinenge tichi-influencewo kuti politics zedu dzenyika dzirikufamba sei. So as young people, we are very happy that we've met like this. I think it's a very good program moving forward for the country.
Well, Zulugandaba, those were some of the youth who participated at the 4H Zimbabwe Youth Conference held last week in Harare. Likubona njani Zulugandaba sesifikile emaphethelweni kodwa lapho uqhubekela phambili libhala imiboneno mayelana ngohlelo besilalo namhlanje uhlelo Moriya Zimbabwe. You can continue writing your comments. Unfortunately, we are reaching the end of our program, but please go ahead and continue sharing the program and writing your comments in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts thoughts on the importance of such a program? Do you think that ZEC should continue these programs educating the youth ahead of the 2023 elections? My time here is up. You can catch me on social media, Muria Zimbabwe, on Twitter and Instagram at MikeHove_ is my username, Muria Zimbabwe. So if you're looking to be a guest on the show, or if you're looking to contribute, or if you're looking to catch up with me, catch me on social media. Shout out to Mr. John Muchenja, Mr. Bruce Nyoni, and everybody else that joined us. And of course, you, our loyal listeners that tune in, week out. Muria Zimbabwe, my time here is up. Let's meet same time, same place. Pano Venue Studio 7. The name is Mike Hove. Muria Zimbabwe. Bye bye.